The movie starts with a young man named Rick running after his school bus because he was late for school today. The bus stops a short distance away, and Rick bumps into it. While getting on the bus, he bumps into the stop sign and even the door. Today was his unlucky day because when he got on the bus, his classmates didn't let him sit with them. Everyone was saying, "Sorry, we can't let you sit with us." Just then, he sees his friend who offers him a seat next to him. After sitting on the bus, he looks back where a girl was sitting with her friend. That girl was the one Rick liked. She is his crush, named Jill, but when Rick's friend sees him looking, he tells him to stop because he will never get her. She already has a friend, and there was also a science trip at their school. Reaching there, they saw a bird sitting on a branch. Jill was looking at the bird, and Rick was clicking its picture with his camera. Due to the flash, the bird catches fire, but no one noticed it. When the burnt bird falls down, Rick is putting out the fire with his foot. In all this, his foot hits Jill's friend, and he gets angry and says, "How dare you hit me?" Jill comes in between and stops them. Meanwhile, the CEO of the science place also arrives. He puts his hand on his shoulder and tells him to stop fighting. Everyone was moving forward, but Rick noticed that the CEO was not well. He was coughing and bleeding. Rick asks, "Are you okay?" He says, "Yes, I'm fine. Bleeding is no big deal." The CEO asked Rick how his parents were. Rick tells him that they are no more. Then the students move forward and reach a chamber where there were dragonflies, and a dragonfly chases Rick. It bites him on the neck, and when Rick reaches home, we find out that he lives with his old uncle and aunt. He was having trouble walking, and his body was swollen. Just then, his uncle asked him to feed the fish. As soon as he opened the aquarium, he started vomiting. He vomits there and then sits in his room. His uncle comes from behind and tells him that he is growing up. So mood swings are normal. Rick falls on the bed and goes into a deep sleep. The CEO is shown showing his inventions and sitting in his electrical chair. Then he is given some electric shocks. A man was standing nearby, and he holds his hand so that his soul transfers into the CEO. Currently, the CEO's lifespan has increased. Seeing this, everyone gets scared, and then Rick is shown waking up. He turns on his computer and starts searching dragonfly bite on Google, meaning he wants to see what happened after the dragonfly bite. He was feeling changes in his body. Just then, he receives a notification from Professor X to be added as a friend, along with a message that said, "I have all the answers, and don't look for me, I will reach you." Meanwhile, he looks at his father's picture that he was looking at and remembers his father. He says, "Dad, you left too soon." And the next morning was the science fair at his school. A guest named Stephen Hawking was there, and Rick also goes there. He says, "Look at me. I can't even walk, and I also want a life like you. I wish I could go to the place where I want to go." The students have now separated, and Rick was walking. He saw Jill and got lost in her. Because of this, he bumps into Jill's friend. He tells him to walk carefully. He moves forward and starts drinking water and puts his hand on a board, but his hand sticks to the board. He lets go of his hand and sees small hairs on his hand. His hands are sticky, and when he tries to free his hand, a board-like box sticks to his hand. He hits Jill's friend due to a jerk. There was a fight, and during the fight, Rick fell on Stephen Hawking's wheelchair. Because of this, he also gets injured and falls into a beehive. The bees came out, and there was a big commotion among the students. Rick comes out and sees that he can walk on the building. He could also jump with sticky hands, and his body had become flexible. He looked like Spider-Man and saw a truck coming fast on the road. An old woman and her dog were standing in front of the truck. Rick moved forward to help them and immediately pushed the old woman and her dog. The truck also stopped, and everyone was looking at him in surprise. Rick thought that maybe they were admiring him, but when he turned around, he found that the woman was stuck in a dumper, and her dog was also standing near her, but it was also hanging. Rick goes to his house, and as soon as he enters the house, he meets his uncle and his friend there. His uncle throws a dart towards him, and Rick easily catches it. His uncle said, "Rick, you look changed," and he was also replying quickly. For an experiment, he attacks Rick and stabs him with a knife, but the knife bends and nothing happens to Rick, and they realize that Rick has superpowers. Rick heard strange noises from a nearby house, and it was Jill's house, and she came out because her friend was coming to pick her up. While leaving, she says to Rick, "I will also go on a drive with you." Rick innocently looks at his bicycle, wondering how he would take her for a ride on his bicycle. Just then, his bicycle falls and breaks. Rick has no hope of meeting Jill because he has no other source to take her for a drive. Rick reaches home and receives a video call from Professor X. Then the video call got disconnected, and an advertisement came that we will give you a loan for a car. Rick gets happy and goes to the bank with his aunt and uncle to take a loan. Meanwhile, robbers arrive and start robbing the bank. Rick comes out and sees a crowd. A small monkey was showing its tricks there. Nearby lay the body of his uncle. He ran to him and saw, but thankfully, he was alive. Just then, his uncle asked him, "Rick, are you a responsible boy?" Rick said, "No, I don't know." A medical team arrives and takes Rick's uncle to the hospital. The CEO is shown in his office, and his assistant comes here. The CEO's condition was not good, and he was feeling weak. He holds his assistant's hand and becomes powerful while taking her life. Then he hides her dead body in the closet. Rick is shown with his uncle, and then he thinks of meeting Professor X. He saw his face, and when he went to meet him, Professor X took him to a school for special children, and Professor X was telling Rick that he is a special child. He tells him that he has many powers and that he can even fly by using them. Professor X was also in a wheelchair and meets his wife, and she was also in a wheelchair, and they start talking. Just then, his wife brings a small child in front who looked like a toy, not a boy. He was sitting in the wheelchair and moving his small hands towards his brain. Then he uses telekinesis and lifts Professor X into the air. Later, his wife is shown in front of Rick and says that you have come to this school without a costume. If you want to become a superhero, you will have to design a costume for yourself. Rick designed his costume, which was green with a black dragonfly on it. He got this idea because he was bitten by a dragonfly, and then he went to the roof. He was just sitting there when a man wearing a blue costume came there and said, "Stand up from there. This is my place." Rick says, "Come, let's talk and sit together." Rick goes for a job interview in an office and starts showing his punches in his costume, but the boss is not impressed. That man comes there and says that the police are standing outside the university where they study. Rick disappears, and the CEO reaches the place where the children study. He is wearing a black and red costume and has a container in his hand. Now he has come here to take the blood of the youth, the serum that will keep him young, and Rick also reaches there in his dragonfly costume. Now a fight starts between the two, and Jill is also watching all this. Their fight escalates, and the CEO throws blades at him. Fortunately, his costume was so powerful that he wasn't injured. His life was out of danger. Later, the fight ends because the CEO sneaks away from there. Jill is shown coming out of the theater at night, so Rick follows her and tries to talk to her, and Jill had come here for a film audition. Rick asks her how she is. While giving her flowers, Jill says, "I thought you wanted to talk about some other topic." Rick says nothing because he was feeling shy. Then she leaves from there, although she doesn't know who the man in the dragonfly costume is. She liked the man in the dragonfly costume and was impressed by him. As she moves forward, some bad guys tease her. When Rick sees this, he again comes in his dragonfly getup. Fighting the bad guys, he saves Jill, and Jill looks at him lovingly, as if thanking him. On the other hand, the CEO is shown doing research in his house. He finds out that to become immortal, he will have to take the lives of 47,000 people. He will have to take their powers, and then he will not be able to die. The CEO starts working on this. In this, Rick is shown who has invited Jill to his house party. Jill comes and becomes friends with Rick's aunt. She was telling her that she feels attached to the dragonfly man. "I like him," she says. Meanwhile, Deus, Jill's friend and uncle, come to the other side. Rick is shown coming into his room wearing the dragonfly costume. Before he could change his costume, the CEO arrives, and he has come to meet him. He suspects that Rick is the dragonfly man, and Rick hides on the roof of his room. The CEO sees everything upside down, but hides in a drawer and deceives the CEO while he is looking for him. The CEO goes downstairs, tired. Just then, Rick comes inside, who is coming after changing his clothes. Here, the CEO saw wounds on Rick's hands and lips. He asks him where he is coming from, and Rick says, "I'm coming after fighting with a boy." The CEO suspects that Rick is a dragonfly, but Rick ignores him. Then Jill's friend left, and Rick and Jill together talked about the dragonfly. Here, the CEO comes in his black and red costume, and his name is Hourglass, and he tries to attack them. He says that he has to take the lives of thousands of people and tries to move forward, but Rick was about to attack him when he slipped and fell. Then Hourglass goes to his aunt and takes her life. Here she dies, and Rick's uncle is shown in the hospital, and he regains consciousness. The doctor strictly forbids giving him bad news, but another doctor tells him that his wife has died and her funeral will be in the morning. Her husband was also present at the funeral, and he went into the coffin to stay with his wife, but he doesn't know that it's not his wife's coffin, but his wife's coffin is coming. Some people were bringing the coffin, but the door of the coffin opened, and his wife fell down. There was a fire where his wife fell, and she was burnt in the fire. After a while, Rick becomes sad and sits alone in his house, and he has made his house dirty. Now he also has a beard, and then his uncle and Rick's friend are shown at his house. His uncle gives him a ring and tells him to do what is written on this ring. You will have to live according to it. The words written on the ring were honor, dignity, pride, commitment, duty, and healthcare. Rick says, I know I have to follow them, and now I also want to become a superhero. I don't know what to do, and everyone was worried because of this. Hourglass said that he would go to a ceremony where there would be thousands of people, and he would take their lives to become strong. Meanwhile, news came on TV that there would be a conference, and thousands of people would come to it. Rick realizes that this is the same place where the incident will happen. He goes there and doesn't know that the CEO there is Hourglass. They asked the CEO who Hourglass was. He looks around and sees a monk talking to children and says to Rick, he's here. Rick goes and beats up the monk, and during this, the CEO runs away from there. As soon as he goes outside, he turns on his electric chair and throws the roof at Rick. He was in his dragonfly costume, and Rick, using his power, removes the roof. A strange thing happened. The roof fell on him again. Poor Rick. Hourglass was about to throw blades at Rick, but Jill came in between to save Rick. She was hit by the blade, and Rick didn't understand what to do, and he went upstairs where Hourglass was sitting on the chair. He heals Jill while using the chair. Jill thanked him, and then they looked at the screen that only 10 seconds were left, and then Hourglass would become immortal. They think of stopping him, and Hourglass is throwing blades at him, but Rick escapes through a backflip. Then he brings fuel near him, which explodes. Here, the CEO dies, and he survives because of the dragonfly's strong costume. On the other hand, Jill also falls away due to the explosion. Now, Rick and Jill were falling down the building together, and while falling, Jill sees the ring in Rick's hand. So she realizes that Rick belongs to a powerful family. They express their love for each other here. The movie ends here.